We're here to react to the entire Ben 10 timeline, apparently. I have no idea why I'm here. Cerby was randomly like, 0, let's react to the Ben 10 timeline. I'm not even a fan of Ben 10. Cerby's a huge fan of Ben 10 from what I know. Is that correct?
I love Ben 10.
So we're gonna upload this random video to our anime and gaming channel. Yes, Ben 10, everybody.
Yes.
The best
Yeah.
anime out there. Hope you guys enjoy. Time codes?
I love
Okay.
Inktank's videos too. They're all great.
I've never watched anything from their channel. And I will say that as a kid, I did not watch Ben 10. I was bullied for it.
No, you were bullied because you watched Dragon.
I'm Yuri Lowenthal, the voice of Ben Tennyson.
No.
This is Paul Lighting, the voice of
Oh, I didn't know you were
Tennyson.
Lowenthal. Okay.
I'm Tara Strong, the voice of Ben Tennyson.
Greg Sipes, the voice of Kevin Levin, and right now, that's how we do it. And this is Wingman G, the real-life Beast Boy, and you're watching
What?
the Ink Tank, babies.
Thanks for tuning into the Ink Tank.
Thanks for tuning in to
Look.
the Ink Tank.
I love working with
I'm just
Ben 10,
saying
and I wish they would do a Ben 10
that
animated
Courage the
feature
Cowardly
film.
Dog was a lot more fun than Ben 10, in my opinion.
Hard
But we'll see.
I hated Courage.
I can turn into whatever alien I want, at least most of the time.
Don't touch my car. Enjoy the video,
There's a
yo.
lot of
We
good
hope you
shows.
enjoy the video.
Hope you enjoy the
Between
video.
Nickelodeon
It's
and
hero
Cartoon
time.
Network
Go
in that
in,
time,
hero.
though.
Bye, guys.
This is Max.
This video is the completed, illustrated retelling of the entire history of Ben 10, from the classic
The
series all the way to
draws
Omniverse.
all
The information will be presented
illustrations
chronologically, so you will see all flashback and time
Must have
travel
taken a
shenanigans
lot of
play
work
out in the order they
for
would
such
have
a long
happened in
video.
the natural progression of the universe.
I can only
By the
imagine
end,
how
you
long
should
this
be
took
well
him.
versed in
That's
the
why he put it
legacy
out in
that is
5
the
parts
hero of
original.
heroes. I'd love to hear reactions from both longtime fans and new beginners of the show, and see if they can follow along.
I have no
Now,
idea what the show is
let's
about, so
begin.
yeah.
Released into the universe are these single-celled ancestors to all DNA, known as slimebiots. These sentient genetomorphic species gather, carry, mix,
That's a
and
word.
deposit DNA across the growing universe for eons to come. They are essentially the creators of most known
I feel like
sentient life
Ben
today,
10 as a
sometime
series has
after
a
the
similar
universe had time
naming
to
sense
grow.
as I do, and that's just terrible.
A swampy, small planet gives birth to a genius that will become the smartest being in many galaxies. Azimuth, a Galvan
I feel
who
like
at
I've
full
seen
height is
Ben 10
only
turn
about
into
6
that kind
inches
of alien
tall,
before.
soon begins to flourish his
Yeah,
passions
that
to invent and
species
learn
is one
alongside
of the
his
original
mate,
10.
Zenith. His first grandiose invention being an entire artificial planet known as Primus. Obsessed with his own capability, Azimuth sought out to find a way to tap into the fundamental forces of the universe and control the laws of physics himself. Inspired by a solitary alignment,
That's
Azimuth
most
forged
mad
the Sword of
scientists do, you know?
Ascalon, a sword that wields such great power, one can't help but compare it to magic. This pushed Zenith away, with a young Azimuth too ignorant to care. However, the sword
I
was
don't see any
stolen by
mad
a
scientists
fierce
here.
Incursion warrior, hoping to put an end to their constant world wars. This eventually led to the destruction of the Incursion planet.
Obviously, yeah.
Azimuth blamed
That always
himself.
happens.
After retrieving the sword, Azimuth was still longing to prove the sword's creation was valid. Eventually, Azimuth visited a, quote, pathetic backwater planet he came across on his studies.
Earth?
Circa
Yeah.
1130,
How did I know?
Always.
the medieval era. Georgius, a Roman soldier cursed with immortality, is defending his land from a cross-dimensional shape-shifting being known as the Dagon, enslaver of 100
Not the
different
dragon?
dimensions, and his
Not the
army of
Dagon.
demon Lucubros. To relinquish the assault, Azimuth offers the knight his sword if Sir George, the Roman soldier's current name, was worthy enough to wield it. Sir George indulges on Azimuth's offer, and engages in an epic battle, ending with George cutting out the heart of the Dagon, and leaving Ascalon buried within. As the Dagon's heart was the source of his power, George was then able to magically seal the Dagon away, freeing humanity from his reign.
Oh, it's gonna come back sometime
Sir
later.
George then founded the Forever
Oh,
Knights,
definitely.
vowing to protect Earth from extraterrestrial threats and prepare for the Dagon's potential second coming.
XCOM?
Azimuth sought out to right his wrongs by inventing something to represent peace instead of war, hoping that one day, his lost lover would notice. Eventually,
Notice me, senpai. No.
Azimuth became antisocial and put himself in isolation on Xenon, and began developing
Yes,
Hashtag
happens to the
relatable.
best of
which
us.
can transform the user into a multitude of alien species. Azimuth would continue to perfect his invention over time. In the 1770s, George Washington is leading a secret
What? What is the? What is George Washington doing with that? What?
Organized branch of hunters dedicated to learning about and protecting the world from supernatural threats and rumors. A stranded Maltruant arrives here and
Reminds
receives
me of that
aid from a
Abraham
young
Lincoln
banished
movie where he's a
traveler
vampire
named
hunter.
Vilgax. Vilgax helps Maltruant repair his ship, and in return, Maltruant gives young Vilgax a Chronosapien time bomb. The two are
thanks
soon
for
accepted by Ben
fixing
and
my
Rook
ship.
time
Have a
hop-
bomb.
I feel like Vilgax could be a name in Kingdom Hearts.
once again and fight off young
Does that
Vilgax and
make
Maltruant with the help of George Washington. Seeing Ben transform from species to species inspired Vilgax's lifelong lust for this unique kind of power, as Ben
Lust?
unknowingly became the catalyst for his greatest foe. Washington cuts the anchor of Vilgax's ship, inspiring
Nice.
the tale of George Washington cutting down the cherry tree. This also marks the
Oh
first
my god! That's how they connect that to like a historical event. Also, do we really have to go all the way back here for a kid show? What is this lore? What?
It's beautiful. What are you talking about? As an anime fan, you should know. Just because it has a kid target audience doesn't mean they don't have to go hard on everything.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I wasn't expecting this from Ben 10 of all things.
I
Just this kid who
know.
would turn into aliens.
That's why I
reported
wanted you to
alien
watch
sighting on
this
Earth,
video.
and Washington's organization starts to integrate extraterrestrial matters. This sets up the creation of the Plumbers, meant to fix leaks in normal society. They create
Couldn't we come up with a different name?
No, it's beautiful. That's how you get the backstory of Grandpa Max. It's just a plumber. Don't worry about
a nod
it.
to their original
Oh
members,
my
the
god.
founding fathers. In 1952, an unnamed scientist working in a secret base of operations just outside of Bellwood is completing his work on a machine
That's
that
not
uses
me.
quartz crystal to break a hole in the space-time continuum. The machine erupts, and both the scientist and his assistant disappear, thought to be dead. In 1962,
Thought.
10 years later, Air Force pilot turned astronaut Maxwell Tennyson saves the life of an energy being named Verdona from an android that aspired to use her as a
kinda
power
hot.
source. The two eventually start a family together.
Oh! Well, yeah. Dude, damn. I see you, Max Tennyson.
Also present was an alien police officer named Magister Labrid, who invites Max to
He was
join
just
the
there.
force. This
No.
stems the integration of the
what?
intergalactic merger of said police force and the Earth Plumbers. Plumbers are now multi-galaxy wide and operate as the definitive law enforcement for all galaxies under their
out
jurisdiction.
there fixing
Max would
plumbing
go on to
everywhere.
work with many partners through his years on the force. On one of his missions, an Osmosian named Devin Levin gave his life for Max, entrusting him to
Levin.
keep an eye on his son. We
I
come to
told
know
you
the
that's
son's
my
name
name
as
makes
Kevin
sense.
Levin, who was born with
Kevin Levin? Are they just gonna continue the family tradition? Is this like a JoJo situation? Evan's Bizarre Adventure. There you go.
with the power to absorb any kind of energy, matter, or DNA into himself and replicate it. Of course, it would take a very long time for Kevin to control his abilities, and after accidentally destroying his family's home, he runs away to the city of New York. A few years pass, and Asmith has finally finished the prototype version of his Omnitrix, and tasked one of Max's old love interests, Xylene, to transport the Omnitrix to the
Whoa,
greatest
goddamn,
runner on
Max.
record, Max 10.
Goes for the
Keep
exotic
their
ones.
However, rumors of the Omnitrix's existence has spread through the universe. Now a fierce warlord with a reputation, Vilgax catches wind of these rumors, igniting his hunger to taste this power he once witnessed hundreds of years ago, and sets a course to intercept Xylene's
wanna
mission
turn
and
into
capture
other
the
aliens
Omnitrix
too.
for himself. A fight for the Omnitrix between Xylene and Vilgax's ship causes an explosion. This concludes with Vilgax suffering life-threatening injuries, imprisoning him on his own ship until he can properly
Ow.
heal. Xylene injects the
That was a
Omnitrix
fail.
into a pod locked onto Max's DNA,
Yeah.
but she herself falls into the Arctic, freezing her into a deep sleep for the time being. Back in Bellwood, Max
So that she can
Tennyson,
return,
now
yeah.
retired and living in a motorhome, decides to take his grandchildren on a cross-country trip to help bring them closer together. A 10-year-old Ben Tennyson, accompanied by his cousin Gwen, begin their road trip with Max at a campsite in Yosemite Park,
This is the
California.
start of the classic series.
Yeah, this is all I've ever seen of Ben 10.
Through a series of events we later learn were manipulated by greater forces, Ben finds himself crossing paths with a mysterious meteor that fell from the sky. The Omnitrix quickly attaches itself to Ben's wrist, igniting the legend of Ben 10, kid superhero that can change into 10 different alien forms. Max has yet to reveal to his grandchildren his alien hunting past, but uses his knowledge of alien life and combat training to help Ben master his powers. The trio spend the summer going from state to state, stepping in to help out battle evildoers and save the day when they can. During a trip to New York, the gang eventually run into Kevin, who uses his abilities to absorb the DNA of Ben's aliens for him to use for his own selfish, psychopathic gain. A discharge from the Omnitrix sends Kevin into hiding, where he experiments more with the alien DNA he now has merged into his body. As their adventures continue, Ben starts to have visions of a mysterious onlooker, someone who has been spying on him and testing him by sending bounty hunters and alien drones. Vilgax's healing time has come to an end, and now with a much more powerful cybernetic body, Vilgax heads straight to Earth to claim the Omnitrix as his own. Vilgax successfully captures Ben, taunting him with his plans of creating an army of Omnitrix warriors.
Not all that different from how it actually went down in the episode.
Didn't
You gotta roll him up in his little ball and it takes him away.
Max reveals his history as a plumber to Gwen, and the two head to Mount Rushmore to gather more weapons to save Ben. Meanwhile, a power
Oh my god, actually, you know what? The fact that he's a plumber and he gets around makes so much sense. Jesus Christ. They thought of that too.
surge on Vilgax's ship begins to shift Ben between his alien forms. A final assault between Ben, Gwen, and Max against Vilgax leaves him trapped on his exploding ship. Max agrees to open up to
never gets a break,
his secret
man.
life, and the three become stronger and closer together. As their summer adventures continue, the trio expand their capabilities. Max comes out of retirement and begins to re-familiarize himself with his old technology and weapons. Gwen takes an interest in magic after stealing a spellbook from one of their many reoccurring villains. And
I think I know that character. Yeah.
Ben soon discovered that there are more than 10 aliens in the Omnitrix. It becomes a natural
Well, you know me too well.
at many fighting styles. Vilgax eventually emerges under a partnership with Kevin, who has now permanently damaged his body with the alien.
I remember. I remember this fight. I think I watched it.
This was a good episode. This fight.
It must have been. Like, I didn't even like Ben 10, and I still remember that guy. Huh.
DNA from Ben's Omnitrix. Ben temporarily gains access to the master control of his Omnitrix. Max seals them both away in the Null Void, an alternate dimension made to inhabit the galaxy's worst criminals. On Max's 60th birthday, Ben and Gwen are thrusted 20 years into the future by Gwendolyn, an adult version of Gwen, now a master of martial arts and magic. During this
so that's who the fan arts are of. I see.
brief journey, Ben evaluates the arrogant and selfish behavior he develops
Ben
as he matures into
10,000?
adulthood and vows to make different choices as he grows. Ben and Gwen are returned to their time shortly after defeating future Vilgax. Xylene also arrives
Each
after she is
different
accidentally
of the Ben 10 series has a future version of Ben that they experiment with.
by a group of Inuits. She reveals to them that the Omnitrix was intended for Max, not Ben, but deems him worthy enough to keep it. At some point, Ben is yet again hurled into the future, this time only 6 years, during
just
a
randomly?
photo-randomization barrier error by 16-year-old Ben Tennyson. Ben then helps his future self
Ben
and team
16.
defeat Ultimate Aggregator. More on that later. After this event, Ben is sent back to his own time and recalls this journey as a vague dream. Towards the end of the summer, the Omnitrix's self-destruction is accidentally turned on during a battle with one of Ben's reoccurring enemies, Dr. Animo. Ben is taken to
Great names all around.
space by
I love
Tetrax,
it.
an ex-bounty hunter turned vigilante, to help Ben find the creator of the Omnitrix and turn off the self-destruct, as the destruction's power will destroy the entire universe. Vilgax escapes the Null Void and trails them, intending to steal the Omnitrix once and for all, or force the creator to build him a new one. The gang finally meet Azimuth, who at first refuses to fix the Omnitrix, as he believes the universe is doomed to destroy itself anyway. In a last effort to save the universe, Ben battles Vilgax and his army one final time without use of the Omnitrix. This inspires Azimuth to put his faith in Ben as the future hope.
What? Ben just picked up a gun and beat Vilgax still?
A little bit more that happened there than just shooting a couple of guys. Yeah.
Okay. Well, like, damn, Ben. Jesus. What did you learn from your...
Ben's proven himself to be pretty capable even without the Omnitrix, but yeah.
Isn't he just a kid?
Yeah.
What happened?
He's been fighting aliens. I don't know what to tell you.
of the universe and fixes the Omnitrix, unlocking one of Ben's most powerful forms in the process.
I
Asmith
know
keeps an
this!
eye on Ben from that point forward, but for now, still refuses
I
to
know
give him
this?
the master
Can you
control.
guess its name?
Titan? Giant?
Way big.
Way big?
That's what Ben
Way-
thinks it. The species name is Takustar, but Ben calls it way big.
Oh my god. Of course.
Meanwhile, back on Earth, the High
I bet you
Weeb begins
Ben's
seeding
the
their
one that
plans
comes
for
up with all
universal
these names.
domination by planting sleeper
All the ones that
agents
he
and
like,
slowly
all of them
integrating
have the
themselves.
names that he calls them, and then their actual species names. Like, The
I see.
Galvins he calls gray matter. Like, they all have different actual names. I don't know if
Oh,
we've
so
heard every
that's what the
single
kids
one of
were
their
referring
actual
to.
names.
Yeah, I don't know all this lingo. All the kids in kindergarten were like, I turned into this dude. And I'm like, oh, hey, okay. I'm gonna go over there now.
Themselves into society.
Weirdos.
With summer vacation over, Ben and Gwen return to school. The disorientated dad of Asmith soon
Wow.
visits and declares war on Ben after misinformation leads him to believe that Ben has killed Asmith, and a Toku Star battle in the
my
middle of Bellwood
God.
City causes miles of detrimental property damage.
You
The city
guys.
secretly enlists the help of various aliens to help rebuild Bellwood, with the aliens taking up camp below the surface. Over time, these camps would form a city of their own. A year passes, and Ben unlocks a new transformation named Feedback and quickly becomes addicted to using him. Meanwhile,
What?
in the Null Void, Kevin finds himself in a plumber-operated
It's
prison
his
and meets
transformation.
Quarrel, a wise inmate
like
with knowledge
taking
on
a drug.
osmosis. He helps Kevin
Oh,
learn
just
to control his
feedback.
rage, which was the trigger of his initial mutation. The more energy an osmosian absorbs, the more insane they become. To combat
picture,
this,
though.
Kevin learns to absorb matter instead, creating a suit of armor with whatever material he touches. Quarrel helps Kevin escape by sacrificing his life at the hand of the prison warden, who has a deep hatred for criminals. This memory haunts him through his early teens.
Deep
Still
hatred
trapped
of
in the Null
criminals.
Void, Kevin is found and recruited by Proctor Cervantes, leader of the Rooters, a special Black Ops division of the
Cervantes?
Plumbers. Cervantes was a corrupted scientist who
Black Ops division of the plumbers? I never thought I'd ever hear the day. It's just like a special SWAT team of like, oh my god, what an incredible clog. We need to send in the
Yeah.
Black Ops division. They just come charging and break through the window. Good job. I think I remember this kid now. I remember him in like when they were teenagers or something. He was this big buff dude who could turn into steel, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
frequently abducted children and performed experiments
What?
on them, attempting to create an army.
Is that what the Black Ops and the plumbers do?
No, that's what he does.
God. Every single time I unpause, I need to pause again and just like, what? What happened?
Of superpowered beings that can assassinate a target known as the oncoming storm. When he discovered Kevin,
Wow.
he thought of him as the key to achieving his dream, and uses Kevin's powers to experiment on himself and a new team
Wow,
of children,
incredible.
creating the Rooters. After a period of training, the Rooters are sent to Earth to execute Ben Tennyson, with the
You
assault led
used
by
a bunch
Kevin.
of kids.
During the battle, the assault
For
fails,
this?
which highly upsets Proctor Cervantes, calling the
Well-
Rooters project a failure. He wipes
You said a
Kevin's
bunch of
mind of
kids!
any memory of him, and does the same to the other Rooters, and lets them loose once again into the Null Void. With his new friend by his side, Kevin and Argent wander the Null Void.
Is that a
They
rat?
eventually find a way out, and after a
Yeah.
few scandals as traveling con artist partners, agree to go their separate ways. On Galvin Prime, Asmith has moved back to his homeworld and becomes their first thinker. During the creation of the Galvanic
Think-
Mechamorph,
what?
a species of sentient blobs of nanites that can possess and enhance machinery that live on Galvin Prime's moon, named Galvin B, one mechamorph was made incomplete, which corrupted both his biomass and his sanity. His name was Malware. Asmith worked to develop a cure
Wow.
to stabilize him, but it was deemed a failure. Malware became hostile and attempted to cure himself by kidnapping Albedo, one of the assistants of Asmith,
That's not
forcing
the
him to
Albedo I
develop
know.
a cure. This only mutated and corrupted Malware further. Malware then planned to absorb the Omnitrix and use its power to perfect his form. He steals an incomplete blueprint from an altercation with Ben, and begins working on an Omnitrix duplicate with a scientist known as Dr. Psychobos. The two realize that they are in need of DNA samples to program into their Omnitrix, and enlist the services of Kyber the Huntsman to collect samples from the predators of Ben's aliens. Malware then ambushes the Tennysons, and in an effort to crush Ben's spirit, rips feedback out of Ben's Omnitrix and vaporizes him.
Oh no, not his
Ben's
favorite.
ability to transform into him. Malware, Dr. Psychobos, and Kyber then spend the next 5 years
You look
collecting
so sad in
DNA
that
samples
drawing.
for what they will eventually call the Nematrix. Heartbroken by the loss of
Nematrix.
feedback, Ben eventually has the Omnitrix removed.
Nemesis? Omnitrix? Is that the root of the Nematrix? Is that it?
Yeah, because they're
Wow.
taking the species that hunt the species that Ben transforms into, like their natural predators, and putting that into the Omnitrix of their own.
Oh, so it literally is just to counter the Omnitrix. Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense then.
Specifically, yeah.
4 years later, Ben is now 15 years old and continues living a normal life, playing sports and drinking smoothies. With Grandpa Max missing, Ben re-equips the watch, and with the help of Gwen and Magister Labrid, the high-ranking plumber that originally recruited Max,
Oh, that's a Gwen
they
that I
begin
know.
their search. However, as a catch, the Omnitrix has recalibrated after Ben's 4-year hero hiatus and has locked away his original transformations, while giving him 10 new ones. The three run into Kevin Levin, now 16 and back on Earth, during a weapons deal with the Forever Knights. The DNA aliens, slaves that work for the Hybrid, are also present, and after a
I
short
think I
escapade,
actually played a game.
Magister Labrid dies in
I think I
battle,
played a Ben
leaving
10 game
to carry
on the Wii.
Max's legacy.
I remember
Double-crossing
that
his
alien.
weapons deal and honored by Labrid's
I think there's like a
sacrifice,
spider monkey
Kevin
too.
offers his help in defeating the Hybrid and their DNA aliens, recalling Ben's so-called dream of a future where he and
this
Kevin
is-
were friends.
Oh, well, I mean, Gwen's hairstyle is a little bit different, but that's fine. I think this is the one where Kevin's the big buff dude who turns to steel and they help out each other, I think.
Yeah, this is the
There was
start of
also-
Alien Force.
There was also this weird romance or something, I think, that was going on. I don't remember between who, but I don't know.
Definitely Ben and Kevin.
Yes.
It's Gwen and Kevin.
It's a Sora Riku situation.
Ben agrees,
No,
and the
not quite.
iconic Alien Force trio is formed. Using his new abilities,
The
the
difference is
trio
Gwen
began
has a
recruiting
personality.
superpowered allies for an upcoming invasion. Some were good, some were bad, and some were quite questionable. The three eventually find that Max is still alive and has been deep undercover investigating the Hybrid fleet, only to seemingly die yet again by using an unstable null-void projector as a grenade to kill a
Wow.
Hybrid general and give Ben and his team another fighting chance.
Probably
To honor
off
Max's
camera.
sacrifice, Ben continues his journey to put together a valuable team.
I don't
As the
remember.
Hybrid invasion gets closer, many revelations are made. Gwen finds out that her powers come from her alien grandmother, and has been using magic to channel her abilities. The gang meet Professor Paradox, a man thought dead due to a failed
Wait,
time
oh
travel
yeah, that's the
that
guy.
has accidentally
Yeah.
launched him outside of reality, where he learned to bend time and space and find his way back. And most importantly,
great drawing.
Ben had unlocked his most powerful transformation yet, Alien
Ah,
X,
yeah.
a nigh omnipotent
Infamous.
being that can bend reality with a mere thought. Although this power comes with complications to overcome. Later, after a distress call from the Null Void by one of the allies Ben has made, he discovers that Max has yet again escaped the clutches of death, and the Null Void grenade ended up transporting
can
him
never
to this
die.
dimension, where he has began an uprising against the dictator persona of Dr. Animo known as the Void. Ben assists the revolution.
The void.
I love it.
But Max refuses to leave, as he believes there is still
I'm
work
wondering
left for
now
him
if
to do
Ben
there,
10 is
but
the
promises to
reason I
return
named
one
my
day.
character. You're so stupid.
Now an independent being, not by burden, but by choice, Ben prepares for war. The war officially begins with the fall of Galvin Prime, the homeworld of Azimuth. He and Paradox then set things into motion, Ben calls in every favor he has at the time for a final assault on the hybrid, as their plans to extinguish all life they deem impure, which is any race that is not their own, is in full effect. Azimuth at first refuses for Ben to participate in the war, as the Omnitrix is too valuable to risk losing. But after realizing that nothing will stop Ben from fighting, he grants Ben access to the Master Control, the full powers of the Omnitrix that he had only experienced once before. Ben fights his way to the hybrid control tower, only to find that the true hybrid Supreme Council is located on their home planet. Max triumphantly returns with his own team to give Ben the fighting chance to make it to the Supreme Council. There, it is revealed that the hybrid race is actually dying, and they intend to wipe out the galaxy along with them. On a whim, Ben uses the Omnitrix's genetic damage repair function, amplified by the hybrid galactic jump gates, to rejuvenate the hybrid's entire toxic bloodline, recombinating their DNA and giving them a second chance at life. With the war ended, and
I wanted to die, Ben!
You made us impure!
Why did you save me? God damn it.
Ben Tennyson now recognized as a galactic hero, the hybrid returned home. Max continues training the Max Force, his new team of recruits, while Azimuth says his goodbye to Ben, who has yet again lost access to the Master Control. Ben's new heroic status starts to cloud his judgment and fuels his ego. Months later, Vilgax arrives on Earth with his follower, Siphon.
No, that's just the best explanation they can give as to why they undo a lot of character growth from Alien Force to Ultimate Alien, because Cartoon Network was like, we're not selling enough toys to children, let's make him kind of a snotty brat again like he was in classic series.
Oh, I remember you telling me about this. Okay, I see. Well, it is what it is, I suppose.
Force that allows the opposer to challenge that planet's greatest hero, with the champion obtaining ownership of the planet upon victory. Vilgax has done this to 10 other worlds, including his own home planet, which has now been renamed Vilgaxia, redeeming his status as a banished criminal to a respected leader and warrior. With his 10 victories, Vilgax now wields many new powers and weapons. To ensure victory, Kevin and Ben attempt to hack the Omnitrix after Azimuth refuses to help Ben after the hybrid war gave Ben a much more arrogant personality. The experiment goes awry, breaking the Omnitrix, releasing some of Ben's aliens into the world, and permanently mutating Kevin for a second time. The trio work together to recapture Ben's missing aliens, but the Omnitrix remains broken. The challenge begins, and Ben appears to be a perfect match for Vilgax's new powers, until Vilgax gets the upper hand and kills Ben in his chromostone transformation. Suddenly, Ben's broken pieces begin to reform into another transformation, Diamond Head, one of his original 10.
It's an older one.
Vilgax. As time goes on, the trouble weighs on the trio due to his mutation, as no one is able to figure out how to cure him. Unable to escape his defeat, Vilgax continues to pursue the trio, eventually teaming up with Azimuth's ex-assistant, Albedo. After a failed attempt to recreate the Omnitrix after he was deemed unworthy, Albedo was accidentally genetically altered, now resembling a warped Ben Tennyson.
Which pissed him off so much.
Huh? How did that happen? Oh, what?
Because the Omnitrix that he based it off of basically was calibrated to Ben's DNA.
Oh, okay, I can see where the lines lead here. Honestly, I don't blame Vilgax for being mad at Ben 10. Like, at every single turn, this man is there.
He just wants to create an army of transforming soldiers that can rule the world, you know?
But, like, why? I just want to have some fun. God.
The two agreed to an alliance to retrieve the Omnitrix from Ben. Albedo would use the Omnitrix to cure himself, and Vilgax to rule the galaxy. Albedo eventually stole an Omnitrix core from Azimuth to complete the Ultimatrix, a device that can turn Albedo into Ben's aliens.
It's more so just to piss off Albedo. he hates
and
me
evolve them into their ultimate form. The two capture Gwen and Kevin and threaten execution
ultimate forms
Ben hands over the Omnitrix. Ben complies.
I think the way they describe how the Ultimatrix works is it takes the DNA and throws them into like a simulated scenario where they're like constantly at war, and how they would evolve over time in that state. And that's then the DNA used for the ultimate version of that alien.
I guess it makes sense in that kind of like context, but yeah, I get it.
That's why people are like, if Ben actually did get like Saiyan DNA, in the Ultimatrix and then put them through that scenario where they're like in constant war to get the ultimate version of a Super Saiyan, it would be like incredible because the Saiyan species themselves like thrive off war.
I see. So that's how his Omnitrix works. As long as he has the DNA, he can pretty much copy anything and potentially even boost its power. Gotcha.
Ioid army, finally achieving his dream of commanding an army of Omnitrix users.
Yay!
Vilgax double crosses Albedo and keeps the Omnitrix for himself. As Vilgax begins his reign over the galaxy, Ben activates the self-destruct on his Omnitrix via voice command, telling Vilgax that the Omnitrix will destroy itself if he does.
Bixby self-destruct. Is that what he did?
Yeah. But it's just a baby explosion this time, not the whole
Ben
universe
is bluffing and lets the
explosion.
Omnitrix explode,
I see.
destroying it for good. Ben swipes the Omnitrix from Albedo to once again gain the power to transform into his aliens, but now has the option to go ultimate. During the battle, Vilgax's ship plummets into the ocean, where Vilgax
Thanks for the
unleashes
upgrade,
his
dude.
true form, only to be defeated by Ben.
He's just a giant kraken?
Big squid boy.
The destruction of the Omnitrix also cures Kevin, as the frequency from
Kevin's just in his underwear out here, or what?
their original experiment is what kept Kevin in his mutated state. Armed with new abilities, the trio's journey continues. On Osmos 5, home planet of the Osmosian race, a tyrant named Agrigor sets out to absorb the powers of 5 special alien species, which would give him the power to survive the treacherous journey to collect all 4 parts of the map of infinity. Agrigor captures the aliens and makes his way back to Osmos 5, where he will absorb their powers through a special machine. The alien prisoners revolt and crash land on Earth, each going their separate ways. Off the coast of the ocean,
So we're gonna
Vilgax
run
washes
into
up
them?
and is found by bystanders. Too weak from his previous battle, he cannot return to his normal form and can barely move. He is unable to resist being
Poor
sold
guy,
to a
man.
traveling carnival as a
He got
sideshow until he is
sold.
discovered by a member of the Flamekeeper Circle, run by a man named Conduit Edwards. The Flamekeeper Circle is a
Conduit
religious
Edwards?
charity organization at face value, but in secret, worship an ancient being known as the Dagon. They believe that humanity was jump-started by aliens, and that the Dagon would one day return to Earth for a second coming of enlightenment. And it just so
Wait a minute. Isn't the Dagon the dragon-looking thing from the very beginning?
Yeah.
The one that they sealed away and is probably still sealed away?
Yeah.
But I don't think Vilgax is a Dagon, right?
No. He's just a sad squid boy.
happened.
It's surprising it didn't happen sooner. He wasn't very careful.
Yeah, I mean, he just goes around, he doesn't really wear a mask, you know, when he changes to his alien form, sure, but like, he changes on the fly, you know?
Leak to a low
I guess this is basically this world's, like, version of a Triforce.
Entangles himself with a chrono randomization barrier,
No.
pulling his 10-year-old self out of the timeline for a team up
The
of
Celestial
generations.
Sapiens are basically like the all-powerful beings of the universe.
Like
The
a god,
only thing that kind
essentially.
of keeps them from doing whatever the heck they want is they have 3 personalities. I don't know if Ben has. Yeah, they have 3. And in Ben's case, he takes place of one of the 3 personalities. And to do anything, like even just to move, all 3 have to agree to do something, and they never agree.
And they
on
never
anything.
agree. I see.
Which is why they kind of just float around here doing nothing, despite the fact that they could do literally anything.
That actually makes me think of an SCP. Oh,
It is kind of very SCP-like, actually.
The 2 Bens, Gwen, and Kevin battle Ultimate Agrigor on the palms of a giant celestial sapien mother. Agrigor plans to absorb its child and obtain omnipotence, as infinite celestial sapiens do not have the same drawbacks as their adult selves. Just as he is about to succeed, Kevin sacrifices his sanity and absorbs the powers of Ben's Ultimatrix, creating Ultimate Kevin, and defeats Agrigor by absorbing his powers too. The overwhelming power immediately drives Kevin
But then he
mad,
becomes
and
a
the
new
trio
boss.
is temporarily broken. Paradox takes young Ben back to his own timeline, allowing him to recall these events as a dream, so Ben can faintly remember a future
How
when they were
convenient.
once best friends. Kevin's involuntary betrayal drives a wedge
But yeah, it
between
all
Ben and
comes
Gwen.
back now,
Gwen
yeah.
continues to support the idea that Kevin has changed, and they should save him no matter what. Ben disagrees,
Oh,
saying
yeah.
Kevin is obviously too far gone, and they should kill him before anyone else gets harmed by him. Meanwhile, Ultimate Kevin hungers for power and attacks many of his old friends and enemies alike, including the Max Force and the Warden that killed his childhood friend who helped him escape. With the help of sometimes enemy Darkstar and Cooper Daniels, a
Sometimes
technopath,
enemy.
Ben and Gwen each take their own shot at dealing with
Usually
Kevin. Gwen tries to get Kevin to see reason, which fails. Ben
Unfortunately, the power of love could not save him. Damn.
engages Kevin in battle, as both nearly die at different points. Darkstar and Cooper finalize a device that can cure Kevin powered by the remains of the Dominus Librium, an ancient energy-conducting artifact believed to be of alien origin. With Kevin cured, the trio reunited, and Max finally healed from his injuries.
Well, that was easy.
All seems well in the world. This is until the Forever Knights, continuing their ancient
Here we go.
tradition of finding and exploiting alien technology, come across
Dagger.
an old seal bearing their symbol that they believe to be a weapons vault. They crack open the vault, but it is
It's
too strong
literally
to break
just an
open
infinity
entirely,
symbol.
and
What
lets
are you
loose a
talking about?
creature that starts wreaking havoc on Bellwood. This gains the attention of the trio, who work with the Knights to track down the creature. When found, the creature leeches onto Gwen, embedding itself into her mind, temporarily controlling her. The trio free her, leaving Gwen with new memories, revealing the creature to actually be a demon that feeds off of prayers called a Lacubra, a servant of a great being named the Dagon. What they broke was actually a seal that was keeping the beast away, and now he is slowly breaking free again. The broken seal
Gee,
also alerts
thanks,
an old man
guys.
from the senior center known simply as George, who begins to make his way to the seal. Confirming it is broken, his quest to slay the Dagon begins once more. He goes to area
Oh my god. Is it? Has he just been here? This
Yeah.
old dude have been chilling
He's
this entire
immortal.
time? Oh my god. You know, you've seen better days, my dude. Oh.
Area 51 and teleports the entire base onto the side of a mountain and uses it as a place to perform his operations. Meanwhile,
Okay.
the trio is
Just take
confronted
care
by
of your
Paradox,
George.
you know,
Ultimate Ben,
as you
another
do.
version of Ben's future. Ben realizes that every time he meets his future self, his future will change. But for now, this future comes with the power to access his transformations while in human form. They arrive to help put an end to Eon, an evil time walker who has been traveling across the multiverse,
Eon,
killing
ironically,
different
was
Ben.
first introduced to the series in the very first live-action movie.
There was a live action of Ben 10?
There's two of them, I think.
I didn't know.
Three? Two. There's two.
Are they any good?
Yeah. Debatable. I think they're fun in their own way, but they're not good.
Okay, I
But
see.
yeah, Eon's first introduced in the first one, which took place during
Tennyson's,
Classic.
although they later find that this is not the case, as he is in fact recruiting them for his own personal reasons. The trio,
Nani?
Ultimate Ben and Paradox, defeat Eon by destroying their universe's version of the Hands of Armageddon, which is said to exist simultaneously in every possible universe. Ultimate Ben returns to the future after giving Ben's Ultimatrix new transformations, and Paradox warns Ben to beware a man named Old George. At this time, Old George hails a meeting at Area 51 with the leaders of each faction of the Forever Knights, who have all had their own run-ins with Ben over the years, and proclaims that the Knights must carry out their true order, exterminating all aliens on the planet. He upgrades the Knights with advanced armor and weaponry, with special vehicles to complement. The Purge, as it is officially titled, is kicked off with the death of Pierce Wheels, one of Max's students, prompting the trio to step in. Ben puts an end to the Purge, but later finds that the entire event was a distraction, as George's real quest was to re-obtain the Sword of Ascalon, which is currently still piercing the Dagon's heart in his invisible, teleporting fortress. George was able to calculate where the fortress would appear next,
What?
and using his notes, Gwen and the gang follow closely behind. At the fortress, George and the trio are both met by Vilgax, who were brought by the Flamekeeper Circle. Still thinking Vilgax is
They appear
Dagon, they
still.
aim to reunite Dagon with his
That's a great drawing.
heart
Yeah.
so he may regain his full power and save humanity. As a battle between the Esoterica and the Forever Knights ensues, Vilgax grabs hold of Ascalon
Oh.
and is rejuvenated back to his land form, now
Oh
powered
my
by the sword.
God.
He then hears the voice of the real Dagon, telling him he is aware of his shenanigans, but will actually grant him ultimate power if he becomes his servant, and go back to the seal and finish breaking it to set Dagon free. Vilgax agrees and heads towards the seal.
Well, of course he
With the trio
agrees.
and Old George chasing
man-
him. At the seal, Vilgax fails
man
to
has had
fully
enough.
break it, and is instead sucked into the cracks, leaving Ascalon behind. Old George reunites with Ascalon and is restored to his youthful strength. Old George says the Dagon is his mission, and the trio agree to back off for now and see if Old George can handle it on his own. A few weeks later,
I bet
the
you he
trio
can.
investigate the Flamekeeper Circle's hideout, but find no one there. They find that they have rallied around the seal with an army of Esoterica to help free Dagon once and for all. The Forever Knights, led by Sir George, stand against the Esoterica. As hundreds upon hundreds of knights in Esoterica break into an all-out war, Conduit Edwards kills Sir George's squire, so Sir George kills Conduit Edwards, with Edwards still proclaiming his loyalty to the Great Dagon with his last dying breath. Ben soon finds and joins George in battle, where they are confronted by Vilgax, who has now been granted demonic power from Dagon to destroy the seal. They fight against Vilgax's new form, but appear evenly matched. As the seal cracks even more, Dagon's power is released unto Earth, turning every living being on the planet into Esoterica. Aside from George and the trio, who were protected by Gwen, however, the seal still isn't fully broken. Unsatisfied with Vilgax as his servant, Dagon reconnects with Gwen through a bug he implanted in her during the Lucubra incident, and forces her to break the seal. Gwen succeeds, and Dagon frees himself into the universe. Dagon towers over them in a godlike prestige, and does battle with the trio and Sir George.
That's a very
as the last
godlike
defense
prestige,
against
yes.
humanity. The Dagon turns George into dust, ultimately defeating him. As all hope seems lost, it is actually Vilgax, who was planning for this the whole time, who defeats Dagon by absorbing his power in—
I knew Vilgax would pull through! You know, this man has been through tough times, but he's seen the light. Oh man, Vilgax. I always believed in him, you know?
Yeah.
into himself, the same way he stole power from the other 10 worlds he conquered. Against a Dagon-powered Vilgax, Ben wields the Sword of Ascalon himself, and fulfills George's destiny by putting an end to Dagon's power.
Okay, so what Vilgax did here was a really big brain play. He took its power, he put it inside himself, and now he's intentionally going to lose here. There, see? He was the good guy all along, I tell you.
Power forever. Ben absorbs the Dagon's power into the sword, and armed with the Ultimatrix, Vilgax proclaims Ben as a god and urges him to use his power to reshape the universe any way he wishes. Tempted by nigh omnipotence, Ben refuses the power and returns the sword to Asmith. Asmith is impressed by Ben's growth since becoming more arrogant after the hybrid invasion, and deems Ben worthy of the new, completed Omnitrix. The trio slumps back into the usual hero time charade until Gwen reveals that she is accepting a scholarship to go to college early,
basically,
and Kevin is leaving with her, breaking up the Alien Force team. Max sends a freshly graduated Plumber Academy student, Rook Blanco, to be Ben's new partner, and the two slowly begin working out their differences, fighting crime in the underground city known as Undertown, formed from the alien camps that helped rebuild Bellwood back in 2007. They come across a drifting spaceship rumored to be owned by the Contumalia, the creators of the universe.
It comes full circle.
On board is their Annihilarg, which can both create and destroy universes. In a ragtag fight for the Annihilarg against other foes, the device is accidentally activated, eradicating everyone and everything in the universe except for Ben, who protects himself as Alien X. Finally starting to master his power, Ben uses Alien X to create a new universe again to replace his old one, although it is not an exact duplicate, and so far, no one aside from Ben believes this actually happened. After 5 years, Malware finally continues his pursuit against Asmith.
This guy's
Kyber
still
is sent
here?
to hunt down and capture Ben with his beast, now armed with the DNA of predators
I
of
guess
Ben's
we never
respective
did defeat
aliens
him.
through the completed Nematrix. Combating species who were naturally born to fight Ben's aliens against a skilled huntsman strengthens the bond between Ben and Rook, becoming true partners. But even with their teamwork, Malware has successfully upgraded himself enough to launch an attack on Galvan Mark II. They begin by destroying their moon, Galvan B, disabling all of the mechamorphs present. Malware then continues to evolve himself using Galvan Mark II's resources and transforms into a giant, Ben struggles to defeat giant malware and gets absorbed into him, and has an existential realization with his younger self. This revelation restores Ben's old transformation feedback into his new Omnitrix, and becomes the catalyst that puts an end to malware once and for all. The adventures of Rook and Ben continue as they save the planet from the incursion invasion, prevent Albedo from permanently stealing the brain of Asmith, and liberate the Anur system from the evil clutches of Lord Transil. Paradox returns once more with a warning that the entire multiverse is at stake, as Eon and Vilgax have teamed up and
every
have
time
been
we
time
see
traveling
Paradox, he
together
gets a
for
little bit
years,
more
putting
steampunk.
together an army of evil Ben Tennysons for a war.
He's
The
got the
battle will
Riz
take
now.
place in an alternate
Slowly
universe
gains
where
Riz.
one of the Bens never found the Omnitrix, because the Omnitrix never even existed here. That universe
good for that,
is then
Ben.
targeted by the evil
No
Bens,
watch
only
Ben.
for Ben Prime to swoop in and save him. Ben
The
and Paradox
evil
fight
Bens.
alongside Ben 23, Gwen 10, and Ben 10K.
Another version of Ben's future that has the power to fuse his transformations together.
To protect No Watch Ben from Vilgax and Eon's army. The battle's true purpose was a distraction, allowing
No
Vilgax
Watch
to
Ben is
activate his
just chilling,
Chrono-Sapien
man.
time bomb and erase every single universe and timeline from existence. All except for No Watch Ben, who Ben Prime bequeaths his Omnitrix to seconds before being erased himself. Paradox takes this Ben on a journey to restore the timeline, revealing that it was those two that manipulated the events of Ben Prime's timeline for Ben Prime to receive the Omnitrix in the first place. No Watch Ben
It was
also
No
helps
Watch Ben.
Paradox collect the good Bens for battle, but is left behind when the war starts again. No Watch Ben re-enters his universe shortly after the time bomb went off, but now has a better understanding of the Omnitrix and the responsibilities of a hero. Using
he finishes
Clockwork,
the fight.
he reverses the effects of the time bomb and restores the multiverse.
No Watch Ben returns the Omnitrix to Ben Prime, and the good Bens effortlessly defeat Vilgax together.
Back in Ben Prime's dimension, Ben is put on trial by the Celestial Sapiens for illegally recreating his universe as Alien X, which
Oh, my bad. I didn't know there was a law against that.
violates the Multiversal Preservation Act. The court eventually rules Ben guilty, but by using the Tetraman Trial of Combat, agrees to fight another Celestial Sapien for his own freedom. It is during this battle that Ben finally gains full control of Alien X and defeats the Galactic
He
Gladiator,
basically
clearing his
goes
name.
to the other personality. He's like, you know what? You guys hate each other. You don't like this whole argument shtick. Why don't you go sit in the corner and argue your own nonsense and just give me control? And they're like, you know what? Yeah, okay.
Okay.
With the entire universe now aware of what Ben has done, Cervantes finally returns after realizing that the dangerous threat known as Ben Tennyson has put the Omnitrix back on. He restores Kevin's childhood memories of being the Rooters' main assassin, prompting Kevin to do the same to everyone else who had lost their memories. A charade of events lead to Ben, Gwen,
Is he
Argent,
going to do it?
Rook, Kevin, Alan, Helen, and Manny.
Wait a minute. I think I know this version of Gwen. What happened? What
This is
happened?
actually this is my favorite design for her.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a
Because
big
it's
change.
most like the classic, but it's like cute and older. I don't know. I like it. That's
All
what
in the Rooters'
Omniverse's art
headquarters
style
located
very
in
much
the
to me
Null
feels
Void.
like a hybrid between classic and Alien Force. And it's, as far as the art styles go, it is my favorite of them. I like it a lot.
Cervantes physically takes control of the Amalgam Kids, but is unable to do so to Kevin, who he instead corrupts by taunting him about Ben ruining his childhood and imprisoning him. Kevin seemingly turns on the team and joins Cervantes. A fight breaks out between them, leaving Kevin permanently scarred on his chin.
Kevin surprises everyone by revealing that ever since his last mutated incident, he has gained control over his powers and was faking insanity the entire time to get close to Cervantes.
To destroy his connection to the other Amalgam Kids, leading to his defeat, demotion, and strands him in the Null Void. The Time War is now set into motion as enemies from the future, Subdora and Exoskull, are tasked with collecting all the pieces of Maltruant scattered across the multiverse to become whole again. Lots of time-traveling events lead to Ben and Rook teaming up with Ben's future son, Kenny, and Skurd, a symbiote that found his way onto Ben's Omnitrix and can form special weapons and tools based on Omnitrix DNA.
Who's the
Their
mom?
goal is to prevent Maltruant from succeeding, but this journey
I
follows
don't know.
Ben all the way to adulthood.
Nobody
now 36
knows?
years old, Ben
There's
is fighting
theories.
to stop Maltruant from building his own
Ben
corrupted
basically has two
Annihilard.
love interests throughout the series. Both of them are kind
Mm.
of toxic, and I'm not really a fan of either of them. I think Kai's
travel back to-
theoretically the most likely to be canon, but I don't know. I don't like either.
Beginning of time to remake his universe in his image. As a gift from Paradox and Ben 10K, Ben and Rook use special time cycles to follow Maltruant into a literal race against time. They temporarily knock Maltruant outside of the
Card
time
games
vortex,
on motorcycles.
stranding him on Earth in the 1770s. Maltruant sends out a distress signal and is greeted by young Vilgax, who agrees to repair Maltruant's carriage in exchange for the Chronosapien time bomb. Ben and Rook arrive to battle them with George Washington. Vilgax is inspired to dedicate his life to obtaining the Omnitrix, and Maltruant makes his escape back into the vortex. They arrive at the beginning of time to find themselves face to face with a Contumalia ship, and are met by the three multiversal gods before them, who take the shape of your heart's desire so you can physically perceive their fifth-dimensional forms. Maltruant arrives not long after, and activates his evil Annihilarch. Skurd forms a celestial blade to cut through the Contumelia's chamber, but Ben has no choice but to dive in after the Annihilarch as a last-ditch effort to save the universe.
Hope prevails, and using the power of all of his transformations, Ben contains the Big Bang and fires it into Maltruant, scattering his body into pieces for Ben and Paradox to hide across the multiverse.
I hope that would work.
With
No. I did not know that it was this deep. Not gonna lie.
Yes.
Like, Jesus.
For as complicated and convoluted as the story is, it's pretty consistent. It definitely has a few like weak threads, and there's always the argument of like he could just solve anything with Alien X.
When you have any power in your story that is like the ultimate power, then yeah, that kind of becomes the excuse for everything. Then yeah, like and subscribe. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Bye bye.